Ninjutsu, as perceived by the world today, is an art that trained their members in warfare, mastering weapons, unarmed combat techniques, guerrilla warfare, and espionage. They were considered the master spies of their time. Ninjutsu was created in Japan about 1100 years ago, and true, they were hired by reigning warlords as spies and assassins, but this was only necessary for survival, to protect themselves and their leaders, much as today our modern armies train men to protect their countries and families. Japanese Grandmaster Masaaki Hatsumi is a descendant of the ninja tradition and recognized leader of this art today. Dr. Hatsumi trains his members not to seek confrontation, but to enhance their mental and physical health through ninjutsu training, to live a life of honor and respect, obeying the laws of man and nature. One of his leading disciples and certified instructor of ninjutsu is Jack Hoban.
Hi everybody, my name is Jack Hoban. Welcome to Ninja Volume 2. Today we're going to be talking about three main principles of ninjutsu. One is the ground hitting, the rolling, sometimes called ukemi, or injury prevention. The second one is taisabaki, or walking, moving within the fight. And the third one is kind of a combination of both of them. Taihenjutsu is the Japanese word for it, and it's escaping from danger. So rolling, moving, leaping, getting away from a dangerous situation. Those are the things that we're going to be covering today on this video. I appreciate you coming and working with us today on this. I have two assistant instructors that are going to be helping me today, Ken Lux and Miki Fujitsubo. And Miki and Ken are both high-ranking instructors in the Bujinkan. And we're going to get started with the rolling and just talking about how a ninja learns how to roll and hit the ground. Now, the main thing that you have to remember in this part of the training is that we're not talking about sport rolling or gymnastics here. We're talking about if I was on the ground or fighting on the ground or hit the ground during a fight or wanted to use the ground in a fight, how would I do that safely without injuring myself when I hit the ground? And it's quite a bit different than trying to make something look good, or even the kind of roll that you might get used to if you used a mat quite a bit. We're using today, as you saw from some of the shots outside, we're using good old Mother Nature, the ground, for our mat. And here today we have quite a hard floor with just a thin layer of a rug on top of it. So just to give you an idea of how carefully we're working on the fundamentals and the principles here, so that we don't get hurt ourselves when we're training. So that's the theme for today. Again, welcome, and we're going to get started right now. We're going to start with the basic front roll. Now, this is Miki Fujitsubo. As I had warned you, he was going to help me in this video today. And Miki is quite good at this kind of ukemi. So before we start to explain it, let's just see what it looks like. Miki, would you do a front roll for us? Okay. So as you can see, he did that quite successfully and came up, looked like he was ready to engage the attacker or the opponent. He was ready to go when he was finished. The most important things about this roll is, as he starts, he gets very low to the ground. See how he uses his knees. Okay, so clearly, when you're trying to hit the ground, the smallest fall that you can accomplish is going to hurt the least. Okay, rather than trying to roll from standing straight up, he goes all the way to the ground first and tries to get as low as he can before he rolls. The next thing he's going to do to make sure that his shoulder doesn't hit the ground is he's going to look at the ceiling. He starts to look at the ceiling, and you see how that kind of brings his shoulders around so that his shoulder doesn't hit the ground. He doesn't smack into the ground with his shoulder. We call that ninja shoulder, and that's from looking at the ground, and you don't want to do that. So he looks at the ceiling, and that brings his shoulder around so that when he begins to roll, he lands in a safe spot on his back, and he doesn't injure himself. Okay? So let me try one. The two things that we want to remember in this roll is, one, bend your knees when you roll. You don't want to be rolling from way up here. And two, as you go down, it's a little anti-intuitive. You want to look at that ground, but try not to look at the ground. Try to look at the ceiling. Looking at the ceiling brings your body around, so the part that you want to hit back here naturally hits the ground. Okay, here we go. As you can see, I exaggerated that a little bit, but I wanted you to see me bend my knees as I start to roll, and I wanted you to see me twist my spine and look at the ceiling as I finish my roll, so I didn't land on my shoulder and injure my shoulder. And that's the front roll. The second roll is the back roll, and I'm going to ask Mickey to demonstrate this a couple of different ways, front and back, so you can see it. Mickey, try the back roll. All right, now if you just turn around right from where you are and do it again. Okay, that was really good. The thing that if you noticed, he got real close to the ground and he rolls sideways from the hip, kind of diagonally over to the shoulder. And what that does, it distributes the stress of hitting the ground and rolling over the longest possible distance. You know, the hypotenuse of the triangle, if you will. And that's really important because anything involved with hitting the ground is traumatic. You want to spread out that force as much as you can over as large a distance as you can, and that's that diagonal, okay? And so the first thing that happens here, as we go to fall, even if we're being pushed back, instead of letting ourselves get top heavy, we want to try to let ourselves get bottom heavy. And reach out with our butt, go down, get as low as we can. As low as we can. Use your spine to kind of draw your body in. Pull it over. Nice, small circle. So that's the back roll, kind of volume 1. We have another version of that too. Mickey, can you do the second version, kind of the leg out version? You can see that's a little bit different. Can you turn around and do it again? It's going straight down again, but one leg is kind of going out. And that can be used as a kick or just as a balancing point. There's many uses for that. So the important point when you're learning this and when you're training is don't let yourself bend over at the waist and lose the natural alignment of your body. You got to kind of have strong knees and strong ankles, strong thighs to do this, but you want to be able to go straight down. And roll just like that, keeping your body as straight as possible so that you go straight down and you can land on, the soft parts here. Control the fall with your legs and don't land on your backbone or your coccyx here where you could injure yourself. You want to stay away from that kind of thing. Actually, it's better to train with somebody until you're strong enough to do this than to do it incorrectly. And here's how we train together when we're trying to learn this kind of roll in the beginning. If Mickey does this, I'm going to stick out my finger. He holds on and he kind of uses me to steady himself as he rolls so that he can keep his back straight and keep his natural alignment of the spine here. It doesn't bend over and fall down this way. That's what we're trying to avoid. So it makes sense to work with a buddy and let him use your finger to steady himself or even to go against the wall and put your hand against the wall. Keep that back straight as you go down. That's important. Don't let yourself kind of break the natural alignment of your spine. That's an important thing about this back roll. Okay. The next roll is the side roll. Now we have 2 or 3 versions of this too, and they're all important. You should try to practice all of them. The first one is just a basic side roll. Maybe rolling out of the picture a little bit, but that's fine. Okay, did everybody get that? Again, the important part of this, see if you can make it a little bit tighter, Mick. Again, the important part of this is he gets nice and low and nice and compact. He's looking right into the camera, right at the enemy or the opponent when he's finished. See that? His eyeballs are right on you. That's really important. Keep your eyes right on the person. Okay? Can you do the Yoko Nagare too? Kind of sideways roll with the leg. And this is similar. Up. Okay, we're going to try that again. Do it one more time. All right, take your time. Okay, and that's the Yoko Nagare. Did you see again how he's paying attention to his opponent? He's trying to keep his back straight. When he goes down, he comes up in a ready position. He's aware of what he's doing. Again, with this Yoko Nagare, you got to make sure that you don't lose your natural body alignment. When you go down, you want to go straight down. I'm keeping my eye on my opponent so that when I come up, I'm ready to fight. You can do it like we just did with the left leg in front or the right leg in front. You can also do this with the leg going to the rear. So maybe this would be the third version of the side roll. And this time when I go down, instead of putting my leg in the front, like I just did, I can put it in the rear. You can see how I sat down this way. And again, the roll is a nice side roll. Again, using my spine to help me lower myself straight down to the ground. And like we said before, if you're having trouble with this, your knees aren't strong enough, you find yourself wobbling here, get a buddy, hold their finger, or put your hands up against a wall or a tree, because the important part is being able to keep your posture as you go down. That's an important part of the side roll. So the next one is the cartwheel. And I think the cartwheel is usually seen as some kind of acrobatic or gymnastic type of ukemi, but it's very important in real traditional combat fighting, and I'll show you why in a second. But before we get into that, Mickey, why don't you do a cartwheel for the folks just to see what it looks like. Okay, you can see that he's doing basically the kind of cartwheel that you remember from high school, cheerleaders or something like that, maybe a little bit more combat oriented. We're not quite worried about looking good as much as having some control. And the reason that this kind of thing is important is because, and I'm going to put Mickey on the spot here, if you had a weapon or a pack, if you're in the military, or a baton or a sword like we're going to do right now, and you had to hit the ground, or you were rolling or falling or being thrown, you can imagine how awkward it would be for Mickey to do the side roll that we just were practicing with the sword on. He wouldn't be able to do it. As he was going down to the ground, and he couldn't just roll easily and come up out of it. So now this time, as he's going down to the ground, instead of rolling sideways, he's just going to do a cartwheel. And you can see that he can still manage the sword. This is really important skill, particularly if you're doing traditional martial arts in which you were carrying a sword, or even in modern day if you had a police baton on your belt, or you were in the military and you had a rucksack on. You're falling, you need to be able to just come off the ground and not be fouled by your own gear as you're trying to protect yourself and keep yourself from being injured. So practice the cartwheel, and once you feel that you've got the cartwheel down pretty well, put a sword on your belt and get used to having that extra piece of equipment on you. And I think this will really take your level up, much higher than than you thought you ever could be before, because it really is a high-level skill and an important skill. Okay? All right, let's take the sword out. Finally, I'm going to put this down over here. Finally, the last one that we want to do in this series, and clearly there's many, many different variations of these techniques. There's many different angles that we're not covering here. That's your homework. I think we have 9 that we've slated out to be on this video, but of those 9, there's 9 combinations of 9, and 9 variations of those 9, and 9 variations of those 9, just on and on and on. Every which angle, every which way, in combination, from a side roll to a front roll to a back roll, and you should be practicing all of those. This is kind of the fun part of it. Let's do the front break fall, and before we wrap up this section. So the front break fall is when you're falling flat on your face and you just can't do the front roll. So Mickey, if you'll do that. And the important parts here is, if you could just kind of break that down. As he goes down, he puts his arms kind of as a triangle here. Can you see that? His hands are just on the triangle. He goes down, not on his wrists, but on his forearms. He bends his knee here to kind of slow the fall. He uses the back leg as a kind of counterweight, a counter pendulum, and he turns his face to make sure he doesn't smack his face into the ground. But that's the front break fall. Do that again, please, Mick. Okay, that's great. And again, we put a sword in his belt. Quite awkward to try to do that front roll that we were doing in the very beginning of the video. You can imagine this thing is going to hit into the ground and dig into the dirt and may fall out and everything else. But again, he's being shoved forward, he's being put forward. He needs to get down real quickly because there's an arrow heading for his head or something like that. He needs to get down. He does the front break fall, and he's still safe. He had just enough room, even with this long sword here. He had just enough room to fit that sword in there without it digging into the ground. He's back up and he's ready to fight. So I'm going to ask you to do that one more time from the side, Mick, just so that everybody can see what that looks like from the side. Okay, and that's our basic front break fall. And if you practice those 9 pieces of ukemi, I think you'll have most of the fundamentals, most of the principles that you need to keep yourself from being injured if you're falling. And also, once you get good at them, you can use them as part of your fighting techniques and your waza. And I think some of the footage that we're using from outside, it's clear that myself and some of the other instructors were actually using some of these movements, hitting the ground, using the ground as part of the technique to create certain angles and certain safe spots in the technique. And that's all comes from the skills that we learn from these basic ukemi. And once you get good at them, then you're going to be able to mix and match them with your other techniques. It becomes a very, very effective piece of your self-defense and your ability to defend others in this art. The second part that we're going to be working on is called taihenjutsu. And a rough English translation would be movement or techniques that are used in a difficult position. And we're going to have a very difficult position here because Mickey's going to have a sword. Even though it's a wooden one, it's still very dangerous in his hands. And I'm going to be trying to get out of the way. We have 2 or 3 different techniques that we're going to use to get out of the way. And I think there's some good principles in here for movement, for Budo Taijutsu movement, that all of you are going to be able to get a lot out of, because I sure did when I've been practicing them and when they were taught to me. The first one is kind of harkens back to what we were talking about the rolls in ukemi, and that you have to learn how to take those basic 8 or 9 rolls that we did in the 8 or 9 pieces of ukemi that we practiced, and be able to use them in context. That is, mix and match them, use different angles to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish, which basically is to stay safe in a dangerous position or a difficult position. In the first technique here, we're going to do kind of modified front / side roll, and I'm going to use it to escape a downward attack, daijodan attack in the sword here. So as Mickey comes down to attack me, you can see that you can see that I'm just rolling out of the way. And let me show you that roll again, because as it comes down, I have to turn my body here and pull this leg. I'm watching him. And I'm about as safe as I can be in such a very difficult position. The things that I want you to try to watch, to look for this last time is, this roll is not a 2-dimensional roll. I'm not rolling in a circle like a hula hoop. My roll is more like, almost like a corkscrew. It's a 3-dimensional roll. Not only am I rolling over this way and roughly a 45-degree angle, but I'm also twisting my spine at the same time. So I'm rolling and twisting, kind of like a cat. If you drop the cat from its feet, it would twist its body so that its feet could land on the ground. And I'm doing kind of the same thing to twist my body out of the way. Okay? And you can see that there's really 3 dimensions to that movement. And you want to practice not only rolling forward at the 45, but kind of rolling and twisting at the same time. And it's hard to see in the camera, but Mickey could tell you I'm looking him right in the eye the entire roll. And if you can't watch your opponent as you do this, then you're not in quite the right position. So that's the way to check it. You should be able to see him, look him right in the eye as you do this roll. Another way to escape that same kind of attack and without rolling is to actually pull your body out of the way using your spine as the center of gravity. And it's a very difficult technique, but the problem with it is when you see it for the first time, as I saw it when I saw Hatsumi Sensei, my teacher, do it for the first time, it looked easy. So I guess the only thing I can say to warn you on this is it's not as easy as it looks. And you have to really practice this for a long time before you can do this well. I know I had to do it for many, many years before I got to the point where I felt even remotely comfortable using this against a guy that has a sword. Let's just take a look at the technique and then we'll break it down. I'll show you what I think are the important principles that are involved and the things that you need to look out for. So Mickey's attacking just straight down at my head again this time, and I'm going to move out this way. If you could do it a little faster, just like that. It looks very simple, doesn't it? Looks very simple, doesn't it? What has to happen here is this right side of your body has to be pulled out of the way. Okay? What that means is that the left side doesn't do anything. Now this, again, is a little bit anti-intuitive because you want to step, and you'll find yourself wanting to step to the left. And I guess the most important thing is that your left side is already out of the way. So to make any movement with the left side is really unnecessary and slows down the process of getting your other half out of the way. And if Mickey is really attacking fast, you need to move fast. If you notice, I'm not even moving my left leg. Why? Because it's already out of the way. I don't need to move it. Okay? So let me just do that myself. The way to practice this is, we call this hira no kamae, and in a subsequent tape, we're going to break down a lot of these kamaes, or these basic stances or postures or attitudes, if you will. But from hira no kamae, you want to just take this side of your body, using your spine kind of as the center of gravity here, the center of the movement. Pull this out of the way. Pull that back right out. And you notice this front leg didn't even move. You'll find that you'll want to go like this. And I found that's too slow against somebody that's very fast with a sword or a baseball bat or whatever is coming down at your head. So you want to concentrate on moving nothing except the piece that needs to be moved. It's almost like someone was grabbing your hand here, pulling it out of the way. Okay, let's do it. Let's do one from this angle, Mick, so you can see what I'm doing, and we'll turn it around this way. Watch our lamp here and our tree. That's the movement that you want to concentrate on. Okay. Okay. This is kind of a fun part here. Ninja are known for their leaping and jumping, and a little bit later we'll be doing some more leaping, but just to kind of get into that subject here, this final one from the taihenjutsu section, we're going to introduce the ninja leaping methods. our principles of leaping are, in this particular case, is you lift your legs up out of the way, but try to leave the rest of your body where it is. Don't jump with your shoulders, jump with your legs. So the movement is going to look something like this. Okay, you notice I'm not jumping up like that. While I'm doing this part is going to stay still, and the movement is from the legs. So if Mickey's attacking my legs, one more time. Okay, you can see that my upper body doesn't move that much. Upper body doesn't move that much. And the legs come up kind of almost like if you were stretching. Here's a good stretch for this. Legs come straight up like this. Kind of feet together, knees out. And that's that. And it's aerobically a little bit challenging, as you can hear from my voice. But it's good training, good, honest training. You should do it outside and do it often. As I said, we also have Ken Lux here working with us today. And this last section of the video, we're going to be talking about the subject of taisabaki. Basically, for lack of a better way to explain it, just how to walk or move in a fight. And we do about 5 different kinds of walking and moving and stepping types of things. And some of it will look a little out of context, and you'll see it for the first time and say, gosh, you know, what would you use that for? And so just bear with us and recognize that to us, this is really the foundation of our martial art, Budo Taijutsu. Because if you've seen of any of these martial arts videos, you recognized, maybe from your martial art or some other martial arts that you have seen, that many of our techniques are similar. Punches that work. Wrist twists that work. Throws that work. Regardless of the martial art, things that work physiologically on another human being, regardless of the martial art, work. Things that work. The thing that you may find that is a little bit unique to our martial art is our taisabaki, and the way we move and the way we enter in and get out of and apply movements in the martial art and techniques in the martial arts, not necessarily the fundamental technical pieces, but how we actually approach it and how we move, the taijutsu, the body movement. And this is the thing that we're going to be talking about in this section of the video. How we as ninja move our bodies. What's our unique perspective on how we move our bodies in a fight? Not necessarily the technique, but how we use our bodies and walk and move and step when we're applying these techniques. And so bear with us and just work with us as we talk about how we walk and move in a fight. The first thing that we work on when we're learning taisabaki or Ninpo Taijutsu's body movement is a simple entering, moving forward. How do you move forward within a fight? And I'm going to ask Ken just to move forward just with his right leg and right hand at the same time. And you can just see he's moving his right leg and his right arm and his right leg and his right arm, left leg and the left arm together at the same time. It's a little different, isn't it, than regular walking, where you kind of have left foot forward, right foot forward, left foot forward. But in this case, we're training ourselves to be able to move a whole side of the body at the same time. Okay, so the practice may be as simple as, and it looks kind of funny, but it's really important type of a thing. Now, if Ken is punching me here, you can see that I wanted to move my left hand and my left leg at the same time. It's a little bit different than I would walk, right? If I was walking, I would go like that, which doesn't work quite as well in this particular case. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's a fine movement. It's a very natural human movement. But in Ninpo Taijutsu, we also have this ability to move the left hand with the left leg, the right hand with the right leg. So that's one of the exercises that you want to be able to practice. The other side is the same way. No, you just throw the right punch. Boom. And you can see, let's turn that around, that I enter right hand with the right leg. And then I can do whatever technique that I'm using, whatever technique that I'm using to take the person down. And you'll find that maybe in the beginning it's a little bit awkward, but with some practice, you can become quite good at it. Let's do it from the side one more time. When he attacks, and there's no wind up. You notice that I'm not kind of doing anything like that. I'm actually trying to cut out all unnecessary movement so that my movement is clear. Right hand and right leg. This can turn into a face strike, just as we are doing now. It can turn into a punch, just like that. It can turn into a movement around the person, if that's what we're trying to do. It can turn into a strike. It can be used to enter in and put on some kind of grappling or immobilization technique. But it all depends on being able to move the left hand, left leg at the same time, right leg, right hand at the same time. No telegraphing, no extra movement. And it's an entering type of a feeling. All right. Also, you want to be able to do the reverse of this, and that is kind of the, I don't want to say retreating, kind of use it as more of a vacuum, kind of drawing in motion, kind of sucking in motion from the person. Can you just do, from Shizen, just a regular Ichimoji no Kamae. You can see he's going back at a 45-degree angle, and he's giving you the form, the basic form right here. But the most important thing is to get this feeling is, you see, as he moves back, he just kind of drops his weight and moves his whole body back at the same time. Excuse me. If I'm standing like this, I'm not stepping back like this, okay? I'm not stepping back like this. What happens is, my whole body kind of collapses back and creates kind of a vacuum. And I'm stepping back like that. You really want to work on getting that feeling. It's important because I'm not just backing up and getting out of the way. I'm trying to create kind of a vacuum, a sucking in. So if Ken is throwing this punch, and I'm trying to get him to overextend just a little bit. Get him overextend just a little bit. Okay? And that's the point. If I just step back like this, he has an he's right on top of me. Okay, so I want to, okay, come on. Yeah, you can see I kind of got his balance a little bit there at the end by just sucking him in a little bit. So I want to demonstrate this too. Okay, back. There's the movement. Maybe move from the spine, move from the hips, move from the center, the hara. Very delicate motion. Took us a long time to get good at this, really. And it looks so simple, and it looked so simple to me when I saw it. But truly, of all of the motions that I've had to learn in the taisabaki, that I've had to learn in this martial art, this has been the most challenging. Wouldn't you agree? It's really just moving into what we call ichimonji, the most basic of our kamae, is the most difficult to make that the clearest, most effective movement. So I can't overemphasize it. And I think you'll find that practicing it, again, it's one of those things that is just a little bit more difficult and a little bit deeper than it looks. It just looks simple, but it's not. Okay. The next thing that we practice is what's called yoko aruki, which is a cross-stepping type of a thing. This time, when Ken throws a punch at me, can you see how I cross my legs here? What that allows me to do is to keep my back straight, and I'm crossing my legs just like that. Allows me to keep my back straight and to move inside. You can see how that works. And this is this takes a little bit of flexibility in the ankles, particularly in the knees, so that you can actually step across without losing your own balance. You have to be able to sink into the knees, sink with the hips, open your hips, flexible ankles, and step across like that. Okay, Ken, throw a punch one more time. And you can see that I'm a lot of cross stepping there. So this Yoko Aruki, or sideways walking. I recall a story that Hatsumi Sensei told me about the filming of a very famous ninja movie in Japan called Shinobi no Mono. And if you're a real Japanophile, you've probably seen it. And they had called Hatsumi in to try to give some realism to the movements and the techniques that they were using in that movie. And Hatsumi was teaching them ninja walking, which is based on this Yoko Aruki. And it looked so odd and it was so different from the way they'd ever seen a martial artist move that they were afraid to put it in the movie, and they never did. But I think we're going to take a second here, and I'll show you the basic ninja sideways walking that's probably unique to this martial art. And it looks a little strange when you first see it, but it really has a lot of good principles of movement in it. And if you practice it, you'll not only be able to walk sideways, but it'll build up your ankles and your knees and your hips. And it's really good for your body movement. It's almost like a Tai Chi exercise. It goes a little bit like this. Starting off, I'm going to get myself some room over here. Starting off at Hira no Kamae, kind of open no Kamae. This foot is facing that way. This foot is facing this way. And open your hips. And as I step, I'm looking. And that's ninja walking. We'll do some more outside so you can see how it moves, but it's very good for walking across the side of a building and being able to look both ways, front and back and to the side. And also in ancient Japan, in some of the castles, leading up to the castle door, there would be a moat, but also a maze. And they'd build these mazes in front of the castles, very thin, going all crazy directions. And the reason for that was an enemy could not mass a big group of people and charge the front gate, if you will. They'd have to go single file, sideways, through this maze to get to the front door. And that would keep some enemy from getting a big bunch of guys and just attacking the front door. They could only kind of like sidewinder in one person at a time. So ninja got very good at walking sideways through these mazes using this special kind of ninja walking. So that's a piece of history for you and kind of an interesting one. But that's what the ninja walking is used for. And again, the historical benefits of knowing this aside, I think it's important and good training for your hips and knees and ankles to practice this walking. And just to wrap up this section on taisabaki and movement, I wanted to ask Ken just to review the leaps for you. Now, we've done the first leap already when we were practicing with the sword taihenjutsu, if you recall, the straight leap up there. And his shoulders are very relaxed, and he's pulling his legs up. Pulling his legs up and opening his hips and his knees so that he can get as much distance as he can. You notice if he had his knees together and tried to do it, you can't get your feet up as high. So if you open up your hips, your feet go actually much higher without your shoulders having to go as high. So that's the purpose of this. Okay, the other one is sideways leaping. So Ken, if you just do a couple sideways leaps, and you can see his feet kind of kick over to each other. He's kind of bouncing off his toes, very light on his feet. And this is great, great exercise And also, it's pretty silent. If you see, he really uses his joints and his ankles and his hips and knees very well to cushion the blow. So it's not very noisy, so he can leap silently. But also, he gets a lot of spring by using his muscles and the way he's doing them. And he's covering quite a bit of distance. I mean, it doesn't look like much, but it's a good 10, 12 feet that he's leaping here just with 1 or 2 little hops. It's really effective. So I suggest that with all the taisabaki practice that you do a bunch of this leaping straight up and leaping side to side as well. Now Ken, if you can just turn sideways, leap frontwards and backwards the same way. Okay? All right. All right. Now, same thing, front and back. Okay? Front and back, leaping 2. So that's good training also. Just back to front, back to front. Try to get your feet to land at the same time. No noise. Keep your back straight. And I think that that's plenty of homework for everybody in terms of leaping and jumping and taisabaki and taihenjutsu and rolling. But these are very, very important skills for the ninja. And to tell you the truth, I believe it's one of the differentiating aspects of Ninpo Taijutsu and Bujinkan Budo Taijutsu from other martial arts. It's this movement, the leaping, the jumping, the rolling. And it all gets interwoven within the techniques eventually, as you'll see over the course of our video series. It's good exercise too. It's good training. It's good conditioning. I suggest you do it outside. Do it on different kinds of terrain, in the woods, on grass, on the rugs like we're doing it here, on hard floors, soft floors, uneven terrain, rocks, gravel. All these things are very important.
Forward roll, Zenpo Kaiten. The backward roll, Ushiro Kaiten. Sideways roll, Sokuho Kaiten. Sideways roll, Yoko Nagare. The cartwheel, O10. Forward breakfall, Zenpo Otosu.
So thanks very much for watching, and practice hard, and we'll see you in Volume 3. This is Jack Hoban for Black Belt Video.
Jack Hoban is a former active duty Marine Corps captain and longtime practitioner of the martial arts. He was the third non-Japanese ever appointed Shidoshi, senior instructor in Bujinkan Budo Taijutsu by Ninja Grandmaster Masaaki Hatsumi. Hoban's approach to teaching martial arts in context of the universal human values is unique in the world. The training is suitable for men, women, and children of all ages. His goal is to help others attain the skills to protect and defend themselves, and especially others. Life-protecting skills, he believes, will help people live fuller, happier lives.
In this day and age, crime and violence is right behind you. You can fight back with self-defense, and the best source is Black Belt Magazine, the world's leading magazine of self-defense. Learn how to defend yourself with fully illustrated in-depth articles, interviews with martial arts celebrities, plus trends and current events. Go with the best, Black Belt. To subscribe today, call 1-800-57-KARATE. There is only one martial arts legend. That legend is Bruce Lee. In his lifetime, he authored and co-authored only 6 books, including the Tao of Jeet Kune Do, as featured in the movie Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. There is only one place you can get all 6 books written by Bruce Lee, O'Hara Publications. Don't settle for anything less than the original. To order your copy of a Bruce Lee book or any other titles about the martial arts, call 1-800-396-4272. What are martial arts? Mysterious, building the body and mind, devastating, exciting. Learn how to defend yourself now. Let the experts show you on Black Belt Video. To order your Black Belt Video for only $29.95, call 1-800-581-5222. Again, that's 1-800-581-5222.